Holy Batman.
Welcome back to the Blazing Overture. Today we are talking about the Batman.
Yes, the Batman. And I'm excited to talk about the Batman.
Yeah, same with me. I mean, just recently came out and we had a chance to view it, and we're going to talk about our thoughts here.
When I was surprised, first off, before we even get into the actual movie itself, somebody here, a Marvel fan, liked this movie.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Yeah, it's true. I am a huge fan of Marvel content, and DC stuff is, hey, it's superhero. I love it, but it has not always been my favorite. And a few exceptions have been great, but yeah. And I will say definitely. Oh, before we go, spoilers. Definitely, we're going to talk spoilers, and we're going to talk candidly about this movie here today.
Yeah, I think everybody's had a chance at this point. If you haven't seen it, get your ass out there and see it.
Yeah, definitely.
It's worth it.
Yeah. So let's jump right in, and I think right off the bat we're introduced to Batman straight off the hop, and it's
Is it Batman, or we're introduced to Riddler right off the hop?
Well, yeah, the Riddler. Yeah, so the Riddler is obviously spying on the mayor, and kind of starting the havoc that he's going to ensue across Gotham.
Yeah, he's starting his game plan, and he's and what I liked about this was just the tone right from the get-go. Mm-hmm. It set the tone for the movie. It was not your everyday comic book movie. And let me just say this right out of the gate. I thought this was a great movie.
Yes.
Not a great comic book movie, a great movie. I thought this was a really well done movie. It kind of almost defies the comic book genre in a way. I looked at it as a cross between something like Seven, maybe a Sherlock Holmes with the detective work, and then throwing in the Batman in a grounded real world kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you get that tone right off the bat with this guy stalking somebody. And it's pretty creepy the way they portrayed him, because the Joker's never been, or not the Joker, but the Riddler's never been portrayed this way. It's always been this jokey, the riddles and kind of hokey.
Kind of campy.
This is not your everyday Riddler.
Well, and I'll add in further to your point about kind of the grittiness of this show, and my first take was when the opening sequence with the Riddler being creepy, and you don't really know it's the Riddler yet. I mean, obviously, if you didn't read anybody, you stepped into the movie and you started watching, like, okay, this guy's a stalker and he's a murderer, so he's gonna roll in and create some chaos. And fast forwarding into where we're going with that, we get the crime scene, and then now we have all the police are there, and we're like the whole outfit. It's a serious thing. It's the mayor. And then who walks in behind Detective Jim Gordon is Batman. And
unwelcomed as well.
Yeah, and all the cops are like, wow, who's this? What's he doing here, And I really like just the pure sounds of it, of Batman walking. And almost like you can hear the boots. You can hear the sound of his suit. And so going on with what you're saying is that the real world feel to it. I love that aspect of it, how it felt like Batman was believable. It felt like, this guy could be at a crime scene with the cops investigating this. And my first take, watching him survey the room, kind of stare, almost mental noting things. And it's detective Batman.
It's very, like I said, very much like Sherlock Holmes, right?
I love that.
He's taking in all the clues. He's like looking at everything, not disregarding any little detail. And we see that later on in the I think which part was when, actually it was in the same scene there when he found the blood in the ground on the floor, like the forensics person says, "Oh, Batman spotted something. I better get over there." Like
take a picture of it.
Like he's the detective.
Yeah.
Like he's already he's already only in the second year of Batman.
Yeah.
and he's already this great detective. And what I liked about it is that he wasn't flawless yet.
No.
They're actually building him up. He still makes mistakes throughout this movie.
Yeah, for sure.
He's not the perfect, Batman yet. But you see the beginnings of it, and how and he isn't really wanted there by the police, but yet he's respected. You can tell that they're kind of keeping an eye on him because
Yeah.
like he's
Well,
picking at everything.
he's obviously done some good things in the 2 years that he's been doing this, right? He's taken some thugs out, helped the cops, even though he is a vigilante, right? Now, you say it's not comic booky. I agree and disagree with that because I feel like if you look back at the old school Batman comics, even the old detective comics, he is very detective-like, and you get that investigation thing. So this takes it back to the very beginnings
Okay,
of Batman.
let me go back a step then. Yes, because I agree with that.
Yeah.
He is like the detective Batman in the comic books. What I'm saying is this movie is not comic booky like what you're seeing out there now. You're not seeing the flash and dash and the crap that's out there.
That's right.
Where it's just popcorn flick and pure action. Like, nothing wrong with most of those, but this is just so much more. This is a story. It's 3 hours long, and it doesn't feel like 3 hours.
No, it did not feel like 3 hours.
No,
Yeah.
it was. You could tell it was starting to get long, but it wasn't like to the point where like, okay, this is dragging out, because there was always something forwarding the story.
Yeah.
If there wasn't that forward motion in it, yes, it would drag out. But they do a great job of just like, I thought it was towards the end of the movie, and then other elements came in.
It just kept going.
And it's like, oh, I never thought of that, and like there is a bigger picture to the story. So they do it in a genius way of how Riddler plans out his plan of attack, and that it's not just so many like small random acts. It's for a bigger picture.
That's right, and I think Matt Reeves directed it. So I mean, you've got he's done some good films. Like he did the Planet of the Apes first two movies, and there's a Cloverfield he did as well. So there's some good.
He
shows
has a
in
long
there.
list of movies he's done that are really well done.
And I think Robert Pattinson had said that he wanted to work with Matt Reeves, and that's why he did the role of something. And because I know he had said over the years that after the Twilight Saga, he didn't want to get into that kind of big character type thing, and he obviously jumped at the chance of this. And
let me just get this out of the way right now, because I don't know much about Robert Pattinson.
Yeah,
I haven't seen much of his work. I've seen him in Tenet. I can't remember what else I've seen him. Just a few things. I've never seen Twilight, and people were making fun right off the bat of him being the Twilight boy and all this other stuff. And I was like going into this with some trepidation. I was like, okay, is he gonna be any good? He was awesome.
Yeah.
He was a great Batman.
oh, yeah.
You'll see throughout this movie that the Batman actually is in this movie more than Bruce Wayne. It's a Batman movie, and his time as Bruce Wayne is not great yet. But I think that once again ties into what they're trying to do going forward with the movies.
Yeah.
Is that he becomes he realizes as he goes along that he can't just be like Bruce Wayne, kind of
Hiding
without
in the shadows,
without hiding in the shadows, but yet he's still almost Batman. He's watching and he's analyzing, and I think he realized he's got to put on this facade, and he'll realize it later on in the movies. Yeah. He's got to become the playboy, kind of Bruce Wayne, and that's his mask. Because right now it's kind of like the emo, dark kind of Bruce Wayne, but I'm sure we're gonna get the playboy Bruce Wayne as time goes on. They're gonna really evolve the story, because I think Matt Reeves does a great job of storytelling, and he's gonna really flesh it out like real world. It's not gonna be. It's gonna be even more real world than the Nolan films were.
Now they haven't announced that they're doing any more yet, but
that's a given that they're doing a trilogy.
I based on what from this movie, I really hope they do.
I'm pretty sure that he's signed on for 3 movies. So
I always question when you have a great opening film. Like, I'd be fine if this was just a standalone film and that's all it was. I would be completely fine with just this film because it was so good. And if they do make it a trilogy, I hope it's equally as good as this one, because I know sometimes you get into that trilogy aspect and
some of them flounder.
It isn't as good, right? I mean, the Dark Knight trilogy happened to be a pretty strong trilogy, through. I mean, I know some people get a little bit, the rise of, the Dark Knight Rises is not as good, but when you watch all 3 together, it's a good story.
But even in that, I give that one a little leeway, just because they did lose Heath Ledger, and
Yeah.
he was supposed to be involved in that one.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
it does throw kinks into it.
Yeah.
Because that was a pretty fairly flawless franchise.
Does that happen with Star Wars then?
No, we know who is involved with that.
Sorry, that was a bad joke.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's be positive because this is, you know,
Yeah.
we're positive on this movie.
That's
So
right.
let's not rain on it yet. So yeah, I think that they'll really flesh the story out. I think they'll do at least 3 movies total. I wouldn't be surprised if they do more because they're doing spin-offs. They already got spin-offs planned for HBO.
Well, I hope so. I mean, like, okay, so let's get into now. We're talking. We got the dark undertones. We've got the Seven Zodiac killer type style of.
And another great element to this movie. One more great thing that we never mentioned yet is the soundtrack. The score for this.
Oh, it's amazing.
It
Yeah.
goes with the tone. It is a great soundtrack. Like
Yeah.
even when they throw in the Nirvana songs, like
Oh, it's
the
perfect
tone of them,
Yeah.
it sounded right in this movie.
Yeah.
It was just perfect. It was like if John Williams had done something like this.
Oh, it was fantastic. Just the mood setting and even the lighting, the camera angles, things like that.
We got the wide shots and for an action
Yeah.
for a comic book movie, an action movie that's not CGI.
Mhm.
We got the big open shots.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't like some of the like in the Nolan films when you got the fight scenes. It was like in close, you couldn't really see what was happening. It was like you could tell there was fighting, but this showed what was going on. It was a really the choreography, the cinematography was great. Like I said, the lighting just set the mood. Like Gotham actually looked like the dark.
I mean, it looked like Gotham.
Yeah.
And it looked like, it's like, okay, this is a bit of a scary place, and you got chaos, and I like, and even with, when you have Batman narrating a little bit, and it was
That was
great.
a cool
Just
element to
a
it,
nice
too.
little bit like talking about how Gotham is not good. That's not a good spot right now, and I like that.
And it changed, that gave it the mood as well. Like it just such a different feel.
It gives you a real substance
Oh, yeah.
of the show. And I think the characters, the casting, I think was fantastic.
Yeah.
Getting into that, Colin Farrell as the Penguin. You would if you just saw that, you would never guess it's Colin Farrell.
No.
Once you hear the voice, you can kind of catch.
You can pick
the
up
Colin Farrell style of
things.
acting.
But
Oh, he's good.
I'm looking forward to him going forward because he didn't have a large role. It was actually larger than I thought it was going to be because they said it was going to be a small role that he had in this. It was a little bit larger than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
But I'm pumped to see what he's going to do because like the way they portrayed him and how they ended off with his character, very much mob-like movies and very realistic. How they treated the ending.
Yeah,
We'll get into that as well.
They create him as that underworld, kind of like just trying to come up and making a name for himself. Right?
He's the right-hand man who's ambitious.
I like it. And John Turturro is Carmine Falcone. Falcone, yeah, he's awesome. Like he's a great.
He's good in everything he does.
He's always like that kind of weirdo, sketchy.
Hey Zeus from the Big Lebowski.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Or he's kind of always like. He talks to you like he's your best buddy.
Yeah,
but he's secretly out to kill you.
Oh yeah, and he does a great job of that in this as well.
So good.
Because as we find out going throughout the episode or this movie, there's a rat involved, and I don't know about you if you picked up on who it was, or I had a few ideas.
Yeah.
But I didn't think it was who it was.
I didn't think it was him.
No.
I mean, I kind of thought.
I thought Penguin would
I thought
be.
It was the Penguin.
I thought that would be one of his ways of
Yeah.
boosting himself up the ranks. And what I was alluding to before is that he wasn't a rat, and they portrayed the Falcone group as very much a mobster type group.
Yeah.
You don't rat, even if it's one of your own.
Yeah.
And he tried to kill him at the end. And I love the fact that they kept it real true to real life. That's how they treat each other.
Oh,
you don't rat. And they actually made Penguin, a formidable presence. So he's not just gonna be some weaselly little whatever. He's strong.
Yeah.
And I actually like that.
Well, and kind of we're a little bit all over the place, but I love it because it's just so much to talk about, and that
when you got a 3-hour runtime, there's gonna be a lot to talk about.
Well, and speaking of the Penguin, that car chase scene was fantastic. Like, first of all, that might be my favorite Batmobile. A souped up muscle car.
I'm not sure.
Menacing.
I'm not sure if it's my favorite Batmobile, but
awesome.
when they introduced when it first started up,
oh yeah,
and they're looking down the alley at it,
so good.
the way they portrayed that,
It was like a menacing car.
it was like that was awesome.
Oh,
The sound of it was just like
Oh,
he's
yeah.
like, holy shit, this guy's gonna come kill me.
Well, and I know, and interesting to see the perspective. You're in the Penguin's car, and he's like he's trying to get away from it, and it's almost like it reminded me of Tarantino's Death Proof, where you're getting chased by Kurt Russell in the car. Although Batman's the good guy in this situation, and Penguin's running, and you're like, this is like, I was like on the edge of my
It's
seat
intense.
thinking, I'm like, wow, this is an intense car scene.
And that was awesome because I don't find them, unlike, like, we'll go back to, like, say something like the Book of Boba Fett with the Power Ranger bikes.
Oh yeah.
There's no intensity there. There's nothing.
Great.
I don't find a lot, and for the most part, in most big action movies, other car chases as well, there isn't the intensity like this one. Like you said, this one really had intensity.
Oh yeah, like, well, and then the scene, that pivotal scene, is when he comes flying through out of the fire with the vehicle, and I'm like, okay, that's awesome. You knew it was coming, but I was thinking, this is awesome. And then Penguin's car is flipped over, and then you just get that camera view of Batman walking towards you, and you're thinking, is this guy gonna kill me here, or what's gonna happen to me? And I was like, Batman's not gonna kill him,
but he doesn't know that.
But he doesn't know that, and you're thinking
like in real life, you're seeing that coming, you're scared shitless.
Yeah, you're freaked out. it was awesome.
It's well shot.
What a great scene, and I was sitting there, this is like amazing. You would have never seen this in any other Batman show.
No,
because it was so real life,
so gritty and just intense, and you didn't know what was coming. Like,
no,
that was the thing. They kind of kept you guessing as to what was going to happen.
So good.
So as we're going through the cast members, let's talk like Zoe Kravitz.
Yeah, and her playing Catwoman. I mean, she was great.
It was actually really well done.
I thought it was. I mean, we saw a lot of iterations of Catwoman.
And to be honest with you, I haven't cared for any of them.
Yeah, they all haven't been that great.
And this was good. I like this one.
The old '60s Catwoman, maybe that might be.
Well, yeah, it was good for its time and what the genre was there.
Yeah.
But an actual iteration of Catwoman, even in the cartoon series and things like that, I've never been like, okay, I'm not really feeling it. She did a great job in this. Just it was nothing over the top. Like,
no, it was kind of straightforward. She could take care of herself. She was kind of on the, Catwoman's always teeter on the edge of like good, bad, like never really a bad, but never really.
She was just over herself.
Never, yeah. And I like the little play between them. Like, she likes him. He's mysterious. He likes her because she's kind of like on her own, and he identifies with that.
Yeah, they didn't. Yeah. The relationship between them was kind of organic the way it was built. It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel.
I didn't think so.
They actually did a good job of that, because like you see that they are, they have an attraction in the comics or different series, and you don't really get it. But in this one, they just had chemistry. It was good. It was really well done.
Yeah, I thought she did a great job, and it was just, it was a good casting. I mean, it was just, I liked it. I mean, the look of her too, short hair, kind of like, just kind of becoming, I think not quite Catwoman yet, but just becoming Catwoman. She's...
Well, everybody's kind of at their beginning, so it's a good introduction.
Yeah, and what did you think of Jeffrey Wright as Detective Gordon?
I actually liked the tone. Like I said, everything was really real world, and he just came off as a real cop. And
he's a fantastic actor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
I love him and everything he's done. Like, he's in the Bond series, in Westworld, everything. Like, top notch actor. Yeah. And he did a great job. And nothing, like, once again, nothing over the top.
Yeah.
It was all real world and real. It felt real. The characters made you think that they were who they really were.
Yeah.
He was a good cop. Like I said, it just wasn't comic booky, so it lent itself to a really great movie, and I can't say enough good about it.
Andy Serkis is
Alfred. We didn't get a lot of him, but
just enough.
Yeah, it was for how they portrayed Bruce Wayne / Batman, and obviously Alfred's the one who in this series who trained him. Yeah. He just seems like the type of guy who. He's kind of grittier, a little bit more grounded. And once again, a very different take on Alfred. And I actually liked it because it was, once again, it lent itself to this world. And he's believable. It's believable that he could have trained Batman.
Well, and the realization that at first Bruce Wayne himself or Batman is like, you're not my family, Alfred. You're not really, what have you really done for me? And then he realizes
just how important
he is, and he understands it. And I like that touch, because it kind of is like, I get it now. I get it why my dad or my parents trusted you while you're part of the family. You are part of the family, and I like that. You know, that was good. I mean, that was a good touch to it. I think we just had just enough Alfred.
Yeah, it
wasn't too much.
I think that's what they did with everything, because just it wasn't like a long movie, but there's so many characters. You know, you always have that fear of them forcing in too many characters and not doing them justice. But they forced in a lot of characters into this, but they gave them just enough morsels to kind of just give us what we wanted.
That's exactly it.
You know, not large bits and unimportant roles. So it actually did feel, you know, like he just got enough airtime. With the events that happened in it as well, you could tell that they were building something to make Bruce express exactly how he felt. Because I think he actually did feel that way all along, but he didn't have the means to really express it.
Or maybe just recognize it right off the bat. Like
Possibly,
there, right?
Yeah. I think it was always there. He just, you know, he just didn't, like maybe realize it, or just didn't have the means to express it properly yet. Because I don't think there's any doubt that he's a little messed up.
Yeah. And so we talked about Robert Pattinson as Batman and how good he was. His Batman was so believable. I can't even express how much I liked him as Batman. You know, I always thought Christian Bale for me was that series was I liked him. You know, but I actually almost like his version of the Batman better.
It's
just.
It's surprising. It caught me by surprise.
Believable.
Yeah.
You know?
Because for me, so far, Michael Keaton in the first Batman and Christian Bale are our two Batmans of choice.
Yeah.
They've done by far the best job. But like after seeing this, I'm gonna have to watch it again.
Yeah, me too. I feel the same way.
But I really love what they've done with this character. How they portrayed him.
So
Robert Pattinson did a freaking bang up job. There's always been talk about how great of an actor he is, and I haven't seen, like I said, I haven't seen his movies. There's talk of him being, I'm not sure if he was actually nominated for awards in that movie with Willem Dafoe, the Lighthouse or whatever. You hear about how good of an actor he is.
He's a great tenant.
He's a great actor. He pulled this off.
Oh,
and
down.
like I said, there's no overacting. There's no. It was just
it's totally
believable. Yeah.
And then on the flip side, we have the nemesis in
Paul
Dano as the Riddler, and it was a different take on the Riddler, and then we talked about
absolutely
the kind of slightly insane, slightly crazy,
slightly
has a game plan, and I like the origins of it. Like they gave you, you know, didn't have a great life, orphan, and didn't have anything. You know, they said he was an accountant, you know, and
you make it's like, you can see it, you can actually believe it.
Yeah.
But what a twisted take on him.
Oh,
he's
awesome.
creepy, eerie.
Yeah.
What they did with his voice and the mask and everything, because you don't really get to see him until towards the end of the movie, right?
I loved having the glasses over top. It's fantastic.
Yep.
I'm like, this is great. You know, it was like, if I didn't know ahead of time that it was the Riddler as the bad guy, and the first time you see him on that murder with the mayor, you're like, okay, this isn't the Riddler. There's no way. You know, you're not thinking it's the Riddler. But then obviously you get in with the dressed to Batman and there are question marks. So you know it's the Riddler.
It's a great take on it. It's like very much a Zodiac killer type.
Oh yeah. Well, the
twist.
Codex.
They did a great job of making him this really eerie, formidable, you know, a foe that how are we going to catch this guy? Because he's super smart.
Oh, and that was what was great about it. And then even grounding it, like you said, in the real world, you have the social media aspect, appealing to his fans, and then you have the dark web where they had, he had 500 followers, and he's like, yeah, go out and get yourself some guns and do this, and it's like that is so true to this day and age of
what can
happen if the wrong people are there giving the wrong messages, and I was like, this is fantastic, you know, like. Just you're not thinking that's gonna happen in a Batman movie.
No, you don't think of, even though technically you think the Joker is like a serial killer, but we never really.
He's always the worst of all.
But you never really think of him that way, right? No. The way they portray him, the Riddler, you sure as heck don't.
No.
He's always been this jokey, whatever riddles.
These puzzles.
Like, maybe not over the top as Jim Carrey, but at the same time, you think of him as more of a a loose cannon kind of.
Yeah.
but they portrayed him.
I always think of the '60s shows with all their henchmen, you know, and it's like that's why you have his henchman in his
Yeah.
weirdo costume, you know.
And
Like I don't know.
it's the farthest thing from it. Although he did in the end have his henchmen, but it's a twisted,
Yeah.
very twisted take on it, and
Oh yeah.
I loved what they did with that too.
It was well done, and I think it was. Oh, the writing is good, and then so equally you have a very strong good guy, you have an equally strong bad guy, and when you have that dynamic, and I really like the jail scene when they're talking at the very end. Well, not very. Sorry,
Towards the end,
the
yeah.
sort of you're thinking it's the end, but it's not the end.
The twist.
But you're in the jail cell, and the Riddler's doing your usual bad guy confession, and I like about how he's talking about Bruce Wayne. He's talking about just like me, la la la, and he's appealing to Batman. And Batman, you can see in his face like he knows I'm Bruce Wayne. Like what
I
the
know,
heck?
and that's
it's
where that's the way they portrayed it too. Like
Oh.
he's like, well, he knows who Bruce Wayne is. How is he gonna get around this? Because you
Yeah.
even see Batman look at the camera like,
Oh,
oh, they're
yeah.
recording this and they're gonna know. And
I was like, and then Batman realizes he doesn't know who Batman is.
no, he's just
He doesn't like Bruce Wayne, and he
wants-
thinks that Batman and him are the same.
yeah, he thinks Batman's working with him.
Yeah.
He literally thinks that they're working together.
Oh yeah.
That's how messed up he is.
Oh.
And he wants Bruce Wayne dead.
Yeah.
Like the way he does his Bruce, you know. And at the end, he also does the concerto or whatever. He starts singing that song Ave Maria.
Yeah.
That was his theme throughout the whole thing. It was
Yeah.
the music did such a
Oh,
great
yeah.
job of like just
So good.
giving it a feel. Like when he starts singing that, and he's just like, holy,
Yeah.
this guy's freaking batshit crazy.
Yeah, I think and that scene it kind of reminded me a little bit of the Joker, Heath Ledger, and Christian Bale scene in Dark Knight.
In the interrogation.
Interrogation, and it was intense. It was like what's gonna happen here, and I did like at the end. Batman flips out a little bit and he's punching the glass, and I'm like, okay, here we go. I like this. He's got that intense and I always thought to me Batman has always been like. I feel like he should have been more like. He's always been ruthless, like in some respects. Like he's not afraid to hurt people. He'll never kill anybody, but he's not afraid to like hurt people in a weird way. For the version of he should have killed the Joker like 7,000 times over the years, but he never did.
He's brutal to the point where he has to be, like,
Yeah.
without killing somebody.
But I like it. It's a little bit scary. It's a controlled scary from Batman, and I like that.
And we got to see that in this movie, like even right from the get go. Like going back, how they show the bat signal up in the air,
Mm-hmm.
and how its effect on the criminal underworld.
yeah.
How everybody looks up, and then
It's like,
people are dropping things or rolling things off, and they kind of rolls off into the dark, into an alley, or they're like, and they start staring and
Yeah,
looking,
is he
and
there?
they're like,
Yeah.
I'm not going there. Is he could be over there.
Oh, yeah.
I love the effect that they had. That
Yeah.
actually shows for the first time. I think truly shows Batman's intimidation factor. That
Mhm.
the people are actually truly afraid of him. Like, what if there was this real character out there and you don't know where he is? It scares the hell out of these guys.
Maybe we need a Batman in real life out there.
Well, I think we could use about 20,000 of them, to be
Oh.
honest. But it actually for the
danger,
first time actually gave you that sense of okay.
You're right.
And I loved how they portrayed that because they never have gotten that across.
Yeah. It's his presence out there when he's not around.
You're not even there. Yeah.
And that's it was a good touch. I mean, yeah, you look in the sky, you see the signal, you see the shadows. You're like, you're a bad guy. You're like, oh, okay, I'm not going over there.
I'm not
because
going there. Yeah.
I better just drop this thing I stole. I'm out of here. And I think it that's just great filmmaking. I mean, making you feel something in the movie when it's not really there.
Yep.
And I think that's an eerie presence.
Just
Watch out.
One of the many touches that Matt Reeves had put into this movie
Yeah.
that hasn't previously been there that made it so damn good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally
Because
agree.
I've like I said, I've never even really given that thought when watching these other movies. You don't really think about that, but he made you think about it, and it's like that's a good choice.
Well, and like the whole overtone of this movie for me is the realism of it. And I when I walked out of the theater, I'm thinking to myself, God, this movie just seems so real. Like it just like it could have been set at any time, at any place. I mean, it had a 70s grit feel to it, but yet it was set with the social media of today. And I'm like, the time period could have fit anywhere. And even the contact lenses with
The camera
recording
thing,
it.
yeah.
And I'm like, this is great.
I'll stick with
Yeah.
my original thought on it, that it's a great movie. It's not a great comic book movie. It's a great movie.
Yeah, I mean, and you don't have to be a comic book fan to enjoy this movie. That's what I think that, like you said, that's the beauty of this show is that you should go watch it because it's a good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It floors me how many people who even do like comic book movies, but went to this and just said, "What a good movie."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've heard nothing but good press. There is some press out there that isn't good,
But
but
that happens with every movie.
for sure.
Like you're not going to please everybody.
No.
But for the most part, I would say I would go with the large majority. I'd say like 90% of people are going to love this movie.
Well, it's interesting, and I know another one of my friends who's a huge Batman fan like you are, and to hear his take on it was interesting. He wasn't 100% impressed with it, and I was like, I found that very interesting. I didn't get a chance to really pick his brain a little bit about why, and I found it strange. I was like, wow. I mean, like,
I kind of get it because going into it, I felt that way because just from the trailers and what I'd seen of it, being a huge Batman fan, I know what I want from it. And actually, I can explain that quickly. My ideal Batman is something closer to what you get in the Arkham video games. I think that's a great iteration of Batman. That's the closest you can kind of get to a real world, gritty, comic booky Batman. But if you're gonna have to do it in real world like they did, this was a great take on it. It was a really great take on it. I think this was. I always thought that the Ben Affleck version of Batman was going to be the best.
Oh, yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I thought he was really good at it. I just think he was forced into some not so great movies. I think the Snyder Cut really fixed a lot of that.
For sure.
I like the Snyder Cut version, but you get what you have in your head what Batman should be. And Ben Affleck was probably the closest physically and looks wise what we were going to get to Batman.
Yeah.
Until now, like, don't get me wrong, Robert Pattinson is not physically intimidating.
No. Oh, he looks
But
intimidating.
once you get the suit on him and the way it fit, very much so. But he owned that role.
Yeah, and I think that's what it sells it for me. And I thought, I agree with you that I thought, okay, you know what, Ben Affleck is good. I like this. I like him.
He's a big, intimidating force. Yeah.
Snyder Cut fixed up the Justice League movie. We had talked about that before. I was happy with that. But now I see this movie and I'm like, wow, that other stuff is not as good.
No, yeah,
I mean, it's
absolutely
not even near close to it. Like right now, I mean, sure, as a young guy watching Batman with Michael Keaton, I loved it. It was cartoony but real, and you had that whole thing like Michael Keaton. Don't get me wrong.
And that was really the introduction almost to comic book movies in a way.
Sure, it was. It was one.
It was the best. It was the first really great comic book movie.
That's right. But then all of a sudden we get fast forward some time and we get Christian Bale, and I'm like, I really love this Batman. I like this trilogy. I like the style of it. The Dark Knight I still think is one of the best comic book movies.
It's a great movie. It's one of the best movies of all time.
Heath Ledger knocked the Joker out of the park. Let's be honest. But this movie for me, I don't know. It's on par with the Dark Knight for me right now.
I absolutely agree. I honestly, I'm actually going to go ahead and say I might like it more.
I gotta watch it again.
I do too, but it was that good. Now let's going back like a step to what you're just talking about. Yeah. The one thing I can see about this Batman though is that it has to be almost in its own standalone universe. This Batman doesn't lend itself to being in the Justice League, as far as I'm concerned. Not having Superman, it wouldn't feel right having those characters in this universe.
I just want a Batman universe that this is his.
And I think that's what we're going to get because we get the Flash coming up, right? So we get that. So I think they're going to keep the world separate, which I like because I want this separate. I don't want it watered down. Yeah. I like what they're doing here.
Yeah, and I hope I want to see another Matt Reeves Batman movie. Robert Pattinson.
I want to see 3 or 4 more.
I want to see another one, and I hope there is. I don't know if there will be, but I'm okay if this is just by itself. If this is the only one we get of this, I'm fine with it.
But there's not going to be, because let's talk about the next one. What do we see else in the jail cell there?
At the very end, yeah.
The little conversation between unknown prisoner and the Riddler.
They haven't directly come out and said it's the Joker.
No, they have.
Have they said it now?
Matt Reeves himself has said it is the Joker.
Okay.
It is the Joker. Right. Barry Keoghan is playing the Joker. You might have seen him lately in I guess the Eternals.
Yeah, he's in the Eternals. Yeah.
he was good in that. He was one of
Yeah.
the best parts of that.
Yeah, he was really good.
We don't really get to see a good look at him.
It's an outline, right?
But we do see
Yeah.
he's disfigured and everything.
Yeah.
But the way he talks, the way he's talking almost in riddles himself, and he references to clowns, and then you get the laugh, and it's
Yeah.
like this guy might just do the Joker, the old style Joker justice, almost more like
Yeah.
the Mark Hamill type of,
Oh, maybe.
without being too over the top.
Yeah.
I think we'll get a twisted version of this.
I'm not gonna lie. I kind of hope we don't see the Joker in one of these. I don't really want him as a bad guy again. Like we've seen him so much. I know he's the most famous
But you know what?
Batman.
You don't have Batman without the Joker,
I know.
and you're not going to get that.
But I just don't. I don't want to see. I've seen him. I've seen the Joker enough.
We're going to get him. I know we're going to get
Give me
him.
another one. You know what?
We're going to get another one, and we're going to get. I don't think we're going to see Joker till the third one.
Okay.
I'm guessing, and
Give me a character that you'd like to see.
Well, the next character they're kind of referring to that might be the next bad guy
Okay.
is not who I'd ever expect.
Who?
And if it's been done already, it's Mr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze. Okay.
And how they're going to pull it off? Because Matt Reeves, he goes.
Mr. Freeze could be
He was,
interesting.
it's a different take. How do you introduce him into this world and
That-
make him
make him not cartoony.
Well, no, absolutely, he's not going to
Yeah.
be. But Matt Reeves has come out and said he was talking about the rogues of Batman, and how do you make them real? How do you put that twist on them to make them fit in this world? And he did that with the Riddler. What would you do with Mr. Freeze? I can see different ideas how they can make it work, but I want to see what he comes up with, because he's obviously knocking it out of the park here, like so far with these characters, but
still the Penguin.
Well, the Penguin will be involved. I think we're going to actually end up being the overall arc. Don't be surprised if it's Court of Owls. I really think.
Oh man, if it's a Court of Owls,
I really truly believe this is.
You know, I've said this for a lot of years. That is I think personally, the greatest run for a comic book storyline in Batman.
I have very little doubt that this is all going to be
good.
the Court of Owls in the overall arc.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
It's going to be freaking awesome. You better believe it.
If they do that, I don't even know what to say.
So I think all these other guys are going to kind of play out, but the people pulling the strings, it's going to be the Court of Owls.
And so what that does tie into then is that whole legacy factor the Riddler was talking about.
With the Waynes and the Arkhams.
The Waynes and the Arkhams and stuff, and old school legacy of Gotham City. And I like that, because I mean, if you have that, and that's what the whole Court of Owls storyline was about, was history of Gotham, and we've always been around, we've always been pulling the strings, you just don't know it.
And if they're going to do this in that fashion, expect to see at least 2 more movies that are 3 hours long, because
I'm okay with that.
Because you have to flesh out the story properly. Don't rush it, and that's what Matt Reeves has done so far. He hasn't rushed anything, and I think that's where people get a little lost. Where why are the movies so long?
Okay.
You need to tell the story properly.
Okay, so you're thinking, so I'm just trying to play this out here. 3 movies.
Minimum 3 movies.
Sign on for 3-picture movie. Now let's just say that's all they're going to give you is 3. Second movie, you roll in a Penguin and Mr. Freeze, and then the third one is the Court of Owls.
And I don't think the Court of Owls really even gets revealed till like halfway through that third movie.
Okay. If they do it right, and true to the comic series, I mean, this was when DC relaunched their comic. They changed it all, called it the New 52, and that was the Court of Owls story arc. And I'm telling you, if you guys haven't read it, go check out the Court of Owls story arc. It's unbelievable. It's probably one of the best comic arcs that I've read. Especially for Batman. So
absolutely,
yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was a good twist at the end. You have an unknown prisoner talking to the Riddler, almost calming him down, saying, "It's okay, don't worry about it. You'll be back again."
They're basically setting up, plotting their next move. It's a great way of introducing another character. I don't think we're gonna see him, and even if the Joker is in it, I'm not sure necessarily if he'll have a big role in either one of the movies. But you're not going to get a Batman series without having the Joker, because you don't. No matter what it is, even with the Court of Owls, you don't have Batman without his main antagonist.
That's true.
It's the yin and yang kind of thing.
I like the villain therapy though. That was good.
But yeah, so I'm not sure if there's anything else we have to touch on. We could probably talk about this for an hour or two.
We could, yeah. But I think the biggest takeaway from this, like you said, great movie. go see it. Go to the theater because it's a big screen experience. I know a lot of people like to wait for it to come out on streaming or video.
We need an IMAX here. Is what we need.
Do need
I would love to have seen that on IMAX.
Oh yeah, but I think this is the way movies to me are meant to be watched, is on the theater, big screen with your popcorn and just people in the theater watching it together. And I think that's the way to go. It's just a fantastic show.
Yeah, and I believe this comes out in I think Warner Brothers is kind of undercutting their own legs in terms of sales and stuff. But this thing is coming out to HBO Max in like 40 days or so.
Okay.
40 to 45 days. So it's not going to be long before everybody can watch it, even if you don't want to feel comfortable going back to the theaters yet.
That's right, yeah.
So definitely watch it. The second it comes out on physical media, I'm still getting it. I'm buying that Blu-ray.
I will do that as well.
That's a keeper. I'm hoping they do something special with that. Whether it be a steel box or whatever else we get. But I'm going to be in line to get that.
Absolutely.
And maybe I'm going to start up my collectibles again because I kind of, I'm picky and choosy about those type of things, but I've seen some of the new Batman collectibles that are out there. Some pretty cool stuff. Maybe you'll see some stuff popping up on our sets here.
Oh, it's always nice to have those things for sure. But yeah, like I said, go check it out.
Yeah, and definitely let's talk about this. Drop some thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Would love to hear your take, where you think things are going, what you thought of this movie.
Yeah. Observations, right?
If you didn't like this movie, why you didn't like the movie? Everybody's different. Not everybody's gonna like it. Yeah. Not everybody's gonna hate it. But I'd love to hear all the different takes on it. So with that,
let us know. Yeah. Thanks for joining us here at the Blazing Overture. We'll definitely see you in the next video.